Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're cracking open a really key piece of cultural analysis. It's Umberto Eco's 1962 essay, The Myth of Superman. We want to go beyond just the cape and powers, and explore how Eco saw Superman, not just as, well, a character, but maybe as a reflection of society, and even, surprisingly, our consumer habits.
Absolutely. And what's kind of amazing is how relevant it still feels. Eco wrote this decades ago, but it's really seen as foundational for comic studies, for cultural theory even. He had these incredibly sharp insights into why some characters just stick around, especially in serialized fiction like comics.
Right, and he makes this claim, it feels most provocative, that Superman is a static myth. What does that even mean, static? How can a hero who's always, doing things be static?
Well, static here isn't about him sitting still. It's more about a lack of fundamental change. Think about it like a famous brand's logo. It might get tweaked a bit over the years, sure, but the core thing, it stays the same, right? Contrast that with someone like, say, Hercules from classic mythology. His story, clear beginning, middle, and there's a journey, transformation, a real conclusion. Superman, though, his story never really ends. Eco saw it as existing in this kind of suspended time. The core character is essentially preserved. No permanent change is allowed.
Okay, so preserved, unchanging. How does that endlessness work in the stories? Eco talks about something called anti-narrative and cyclical time, which, if you're listening, sounds kind of contradictory, right? Anti-narrative.
Exactly. That's the point. Anti-narrative, because it actively fights against a normal story arc.
Sure.
Like a video game level you keep replaying, you clear it, but next time, you start right back at the beginning. Same challenges, same setup. That's the cycle Eco identified.
Your reset button.
Precisely. Things that would cause permanent change, like him marrying Lois Lane for good, or everyone knowing he's Clark Kent, or having kids, those just can't happen in this model. Eco argued those things would be the death of the character, narratively speaking. It gives him an endpoint.
And that links to consumerism.
Yes, this is where Eco gets really sharp. He says, Superman isn't just a story character. He's almost like a product, designed to be endlessly renewable. A story like Hercules has an ending. But a product, well, you want to keep selling it, so the story has to reset. It can't evolve past that point of no return. It's kind of a chilling reflection of how consumer culture wants things always available, always the same.
Wow. Okay, that leads to another point Eco brings up, this paradox of infinite power. Superman is basically a god. Why is he mostly stopping, muggings and bank robberies, petty crime, as Eco puts it?
Right, why not solve world hunger? Or end all war.
Yeah.
Eco's take is that Superman's power, huge as it is, isn't really there to change the world in big ways. It's there to uphold the existing system, to maintain the status quo. Because, think about it, if he actually solved all the major problems,
there'd be no more Superman stories.
Exactly. His whole purpose would vanish. So his heroism gets trapped in this loop. He stops the bad guys, but never fundamentally changes the conditions that create them.
So he has to hold back, in a way, to keep existing. That's interesting. And what about Clark Kent, the secret identity and the everyman? How important is good old Clark?
Oh, Clark is absolutely crucial. Eco saw him as more than just a disguise. He's like the psychological entry point for the reader. Superman himself is, godlike, distant maybe. But Clark, he's the clumsy, overlooked reporter, the ultimate everyman.
Someone you can relate to.
Totally. That contrast lets us project our own hopes onto Superman, but also connect with Clark's everyday frustrations, feeling powerless sometimes. It makes the whole thing work. You get both the aspiration and the identification. And Eco suggests it gives the reader kind of a hidden thrill knowing that this mild guy is the most powerful being on Earth. Genius for mass appeal.
So pulling this all together, what are the big takeaways from Eco's analysis for how we understand pop culture, maybe even today? What should you, listening, think about?
Well, I think Eco's ultimate point is that the Superman myth, it really mirrors the contradictions in our own society, especially modern capitalist society.
Yeah.
You have this symbol of infinite potential, infinite power, but he's trapped in this endless loop of repetition, just like perhaps consumer culture wants products that are always new but never really different, always available, never finished. And even though he was writing about comics from the 60s, that core idea, the tension between heroic potential and the demands of the market, the need for things to reset, it still feels incredibly relevant. It's why it's such a foundational text.
It really does reframe how you see such an iconic character. Not just a hero, but a static myth caught in a cycle. Fascinating stuff. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
And maybe a final thought for you to chew on. Are there other characters, maybe in movies or TV today, who feel like these static myths, always resetting, never truly changing in fundamental ways? And if so, what does that say about what we want, or maybe what we demand, from our entertainment now?